The number of our residents that completed the survey was outstanding and much greater than the average amount that our survey company, Holleran, has on record. If I remember correctly, Jim, it's what was the percentage? 95.6. Yeah, that deserves an applause. It's important to pause and take stock of areas improved and those needing more attention, so we are always striving upward and onward. I was involved with the survey from the very beginning as chairman of the resident council. I went to the chairman of the board, chairman of the board of directors, to let them know that we were going to repeat a survey. After several years of efforts to improve in areas that needed attention, according to our residents. I'd like to also introduce Tom McGuire. Where's Tom? Tom's back there in the corner. He's chairman of the board of directors. Steve Fuller, our CEO here. Also, Warren Patterson. Warren's right over here. Warren's on the board of directors. Let's see. Steve Fogel. Where's Steve? Steve's back over here. If somebody came in, I missed them, please raise your hand, and if I can figure out who you are, I'll introduce you. Yeah, now I'm going to get the resident board members. We've got Dick Crabtree. Where's Dick? Right here. Carol Hubner. Right here, Carol. Rick Wright. There's Rick Wright here. And is Sharon Taylor here? There she is. Sharon Taylor's right over here. Thank you. Also, Gordon Shoger back here in the back is our CFO, and next to him is our COO, Debbie Hargett. Yeah, Debbie, I didn't get an applause. Gordon didn't get an applause. Congratulations. We really are thrilled to have Debbie as our COO. In addition, I want to introduce you to the new chair of the Resident Council, Gloria Magruder. Gloria took over the Resident Council as of 1 October. It has been my great and privilege to represent all of you, ladies and gentlemen, Gloria Magruder.
I have to lower the mic here. Thank you, David. And once again, thank you for your tremendous work and dedication to the council over the years you have served as the chair. If we can, give David one last round of applause. I too want to express my thanks to all of you residents for the incredible response to the survey. It was absolutely amazing. Now about the survey results. What you are seeing here today will be on the portal in its entirety in the next few days. A paper copy of these PowerPoints will also be in our library, along with the Independent Living Resident Engagement Report, from which this presentation was based. We will also be sending out by email to your street and floor representatives and alternates the same Independent Living Resident Engagement Report, plus a cover letter that will talk about the bottom line analysis. Not included in this presentation or in the items going to the library or in the email are any of the comments, as these were not for publication because from the start we promised anonymity. I now have the pleasure of introducing Jim Burke, our resident council treasurer, who has also served as the chair of the survey committee, and he has done a superb job along with his team. He will be providing some helpful information about the survey before the presentation. Jim, thank you so much for the incredible job you have done for our community. Jim Burke.
Thank you, Gloria. I was asked to chair a committee to put together this survey. And as you know, the survey's been completed. Shortly, we're going to play the video in its entirety that was presented to the resident council, the ARC management, and the board of directors back on 17 September. This presentation is delivered by Casey Kantner. See her picture up there. She's the Holleran's director of research. Now, we did ask our IT department, after we looked at the video on the 17th, to see if they could enhance the size of the slides. So we didn't play with the slides, I'll just enhance them. And our IT department, by the way, has done a fantastic job throughout this whole thing, doing what I just said they're doing, but just coordinating the whole effort of getting this stuff available for presentation. Now, what's going to happen too is the way the presentation was set up before, you had a picture of Casey on the right and the slides are in the middle. And so what we're going to do now is expand the slides across the whole screen so that everybody can see it. And Cindy, our IT person, is going to try to click the slides to match her presentation. So, like I said, they're pretty cool over there. So hopefully you'll be able to see the slides. In any event, as Gloria said, it will be put up on the portal, and a copy of the survey itself will be sent to the resident council reps for anybody that wants that information. The delay in showing it to everybody from when we sent it out to the resident council on the 17th simply had to do with scheduling of this room, scheduling of people, and we would like to have done it the next day, but it just wasn't possible. And now, as you all know, the recently completed resident satisfaction survey was intended to give us a reading on the perception of resident satisfaction across multiple areas of ARC living. A little background as we proceed. You heard David say how this originated. He went to the board. Board said, yep, good idea, let's do it. But to be clear, from the onset, the board did not exercise any say in the company selected, nor the questions asked, nor the results themselves. And the same goes for ARC management. They had no role in this. The survey was a follow-up to the survey that was conducted in 2019. And the survey team that we had that put this all together did such a great job, consisted of Mike Cassidy, Marilyn Katz, Steve Denny, and Dave Enos. So after some deliberation, we opted to go with the same company, Holleran, as we did in 2019. And with only one minor exception, asked the same questions. The whole idea of that was to be able to better compare our 2025 results with the results we got back in 2019. Our results have been compared to the results from 290 other CCRCs across the country from 33 different states, over 120,000 individual surveys. And as David said, our participation here was outstanding. We passed out 566 surveys to residents. 541 surveys were returned. And that's a tribute to our resident council reps, our floor reps, our street reps. I hear some of them were kind of heavy-handed, but they got the job done. Look who said 95.6% was us. Holleran's benchmark for around the country is 75.3. Our return in 2019 was 89.4, so we exceeded that by a good percentage. Now, the survey's numbered rankings that you will see reflect the average of the individual rankings recorded by residents for each of the areas surveyed. You'll see it goes from 1 to 5. So if 200 people put 1, 2, for whatever, you add it together and you got a 3.6. That's how those numbers came together. The written comments have been shared in their entirety with the chairman of the board and with our CEO. As Gloria said, we're not going to publish them because we promised that we wouldn't. But the big thing is, when you wrote those comments, you wanted the board to see it and you wanted the ARC management to see it. They've seen it, unedited, just the way you wrote them. Now, the survey team has done everything possible to make this whole process as transparent as possible. There's no hidden agenda, no outside influence in the design of the survey, nor in the presentation of the results. This is Holleran presenting it, not us, and we did not tell them how to do it or what to say. Now, before we show the video in a couple seconds, I'd be happy to answer any questions on the process of how we went about doing this, or if anyone has a question on that. Lacking none? Cindy, let's show the video.
So, good afternoon or good morning. I'm in Denver, so it's still very much morning for me, but you're in Texas, so maybe it's a little bit mid-morning. So my name is Casey Cantor. I am the Director of Research here at Holleran, but I also worked as the analyst on this project. So I oversee all of the research projects that we do, but I also do still kind of take part in the generation of these reports and the back-end data analysis. Stephanie, she's out sick today, but she was the one that was communicating and the project manager, but so I'm stepping in to present, but I want to assure you that I have had my hands on this project through the entire time. So we're presenting on the results of the 2025 resident engagement study that was done at the Army residence community. And these are the independent living engagement results. So as Jim mentioned before, so the survey was done between June 30th to July 28th. We received feedback from 541 out of 566 respondents, with a response rate of about 95.6, which is an amazing response rate. That's so close to 100%. Usually what we see about 75.3% of residents responding to the survey. And so that is a huge win for the Army communities. So here's we just have a profile of the respondents that did reply to this survey. So most residents have lived in the community between 6 and 11 years, while the fewest have lived there less than 6 months. The majority of residents that responded to the survey were born between the years 1935 to 1945, with only a handful born after 1964 or before 1924. The largest number of residents are in the Legacy Cottage. So one of the questions that we asked was, how would you rate your overall health? And so a majority of the residents rated it good and very good, which is great to see. And then a similar question that was asked was, how would you rate your overall quality of life? And so we see a vast majority rating good and very good. And then the next question, again, same wording, how would you rate your overall financial situation? Vast majority are rating it good and very good. So with these surveys, this is the resident engagement survey. So resident engagement measures how well a senior living organization supports the successful aging of residents. Resident engagement is not just about the preferences of each resident, but rather the degree to which a community creates an environment that promotes and facilitates residents' investment in themselves, the organization, and the community. Not every resident seeks or needs to be engaged in the same way, but it's so important for a community to create an environment that facilitates engagement across. So we have 4 domains, which I'll speak on in just a bit, but we want to see the facilitation of engagement across those domains, just to show that a community offers a variety of opportunities for residents to engage with their community in a way that's most comfortable for them. So engagement and investment by residents results in positive outcomes for both the organization and the resident experience. So I'll give you a little overview of what those domains are. So the Holleran resident engagement tool, it measures independent living engagement through 4 key domains. So each of these domains, voice, connection, fulfillment, well-being, so they each are a combination of 4 different questions that we've asked to get a sense of how residents feel about these different engage, or how they connect to different these different domains. So for example, voice, engagement with the community, with voice represents the degree to which residents are able to live independently and have a say in their environment and community. So the successful senior living communities that we see are the ones that create an environment of respect towards residents by being transparent in decision making and offering a multitude of ways for residents to provide input and provide feedback to the community in their living situations. So connection also represents the degree to which the communities make it easier for residents to create and maintain strong social connections, whether it be with other residents, family and friends outside of the campus or community, or having those relationships with the staff. All of these relationships help provide a strong social support network, which is a very essential component of successful aging. So the next domain is fulfillment. So fulfillment represents the degree to which the community fosters an environment in which residents can maintain a sense of purpose in life and purpose in their goals. So a successful senior living community is one that reduces barriers so that residents can continue to live the life that they want in a way that's meaningful to them, in ways that they can meaningfully contribute to the living situation and to the community and to their relationships. And lastly, the last domain is well-being. So well-being represents the degree to which a community provides comprehensive access to health and wellness resources. Well-being goes beyond just physical health. So well-being includes intellectual health, emotional health, psychological health, and even spiritual health. So the resident engagement index is calculated based on the sum of your community's performance across the domains. So each domain's standing is compared against the Holleran benchmark, and it is assessed as either a 0, a 1, or a 2. So if it falls below the bottom 15th percentile, it is a 0. If it falls within the normal range, it is a 1. And if it falls in the top percent of the benchmark, then it is a 2. And I don't think that makes sense right now, just based off all the information I've given you. So I will show you exactly what that looks like in terms of your community. So each of those domains that I talked about, we then they're made up of an average score of the questions relating to those domains. And then that overall average is compared to all of the other independent living survey responses. And so we want to see where you fall in comparison to the benchmark. And so your community falls within the normal range. And so it receives a 1 for each of the scores. So it doesn't fall below the bottom of the benchmark or above the highest benchmark. So your overall engagement index is a 4. So this suggests that you're doing great at the community. There is opportunity for engagement within the domains, but there's also additional avenues that could be explored to get you up to that most engaging index score. So these are the individual results. So the voice domain that I just discussed, it's made up of these 4 questions. So the questions rate, so they're all asked on a scale of 1 to 5. How would you rate this kind of situation? So in my community, issues that I present are addressed. In my community, there are ways to be heard. In my community, there's transparency. The wording is a little bit different. This is just, I'm recalling this from memory, but it's along those lines. And so what we're seeing is overall, the voice scores have decreased since 2019. That's one of the amazing benefits of having past year data, is you could see a trend. And so there has been a decrease in the voice domain compared to 2019 to 2025. So that is a really great area of opportunity. So we get to have a microscope on exactly what areas could be increased. So it looks like residents at this community would like to find alternative avenues of ways to be heard. They would like more transparency. And so it's just everything that we provide, we want it to be so actionable. We want to have the takeaways be very clear on behalf of the residents of this community. And so next, so also this is, we flag those that are significant. So we do a t-test comparison. We do a statistical analysis. So that's why we're saying that there is a significant difference here. So for connection, we do see a decrease, but not at a significant level. So we're saying that there is a bit of a decrease, but we don't want to flag those as significant, because it could be due to higher response rates, lower response rates for those questions. So we're not flagging those as significant, even though we do see a decrease. We'll just kind of keep that in mind, but that isn't one of the actionable next steps that we are recommending you take at the community. And so one of the other things that I'm seeing when I look at this, we're also comparing to the benchmark percentile. And as was mentioned before, this is compared to over 100,000 other survey responses. So it's a really, really great comparison to see where you fall compared to everyone else in the US and North America who has taken this survey. And so some of these scores are great. So being as socially active as the resident would like, we fall on in the 75th percentile. And so that's a fantastic score. We're performing particularly well there. So that's just a snapshot of these questions. Oops. The next domain is fulfillment. We again are seeing some significant decreases from 2019 to 2025, which is worth mentioning. However, the strongest measures that we're seeing are maintaining life from before, living the life I want, and feeling challenge stimulated. Those all are ranking highly in the, or average to high in the benchmark percentile. So in the well-being domain, we're seeing that health and wellness goals are sticking out as a highly rated factor, adapting to life challenges, maintaining and improving well-being. And we're only seeing a minimal decline and nothing statistically significant in those year-to-year comparisons. I also want to mention, so some of these scores, because we're highlighting things that stand out, there may be a negative association with it. So I'll go back. But I also want to put it into perspective that all of this is rated out of a 1 to 5 scale. And so participants or respondents are rating it, for example, addresses issues, it's a 3.56 out of a 5 scale. So that's still good to very good ratings. That's how these are being rated. And so this isn't something, I wouldn't look at these results as something that's negative. All we are trying to provide is flags for action. But that isn't necessarily something that you need to feel that is a negative association with your community. It is just information that we're providing. But I do want to mention that. So just remember, all of these are out of a 5. And so when we're seeing scores in the 1.5 to 2.5, that's when we would really, really recommend taking some time to think about why those questions are being rated so low. But these questions, they're still rated good to very good across the board. So I think your community is doing exceptionally well. So some of the other results that we're seeing, so satisfaction, we are seeing a decline kind of across the board from 2019 to 2025, with the most significant decline in community fund management, which I think is a very specific issue to look into. However, in the 2019 to 2025 comparison, we're seeing a really significant increase in ratings for competence of medical staff. And we're seeing that scored quite highly on the benchmark percentile as well. Some of the other increases that we are seeing is safety and security of grounds, upkeep to buildings, and timely maintenance responses. So just general day-to-day operations, we're seeing more favorability. Quality of maintenance has also improved significantly from 2019 to 2025. So in 2025 on this survey, 72% of residents say they would recommend Army Residence Community to a friend or a relative, which is reflecting a solid majority of residents who feel positively about their experience at this community. So we're also providing, I'm so sorry if this is difficult to read on your end, but so what I want to draw your attention to, this is heat map coding, color coding of the data. So the color coding is just an easy way to draw your eyes to some of the lower scoring ratings and the higher scoring ratings across various groups. And so the groups here are, we're dividing it by results by length of residence. And so orange is the lower end of the ratings, and the green, the dark green, is the highest end of these ratings. And so when I look at this, I see that engagement, so these are for the engagement questions. Engagement is highest at move-in, so less than 6 months is where we're seeing the really dark green colors, so the highest scoring factors. And I see a dip in the middle years, and then a rise again with some of those who've had more tenure at the community for the engagement factors. And so these are all of the satisfaction factors, and I see the same. It's a similar pattern. So residents begin very highly satisfied, but kind of experience a dip in their satisfaction levels as time goes on. And then we see some stabilization after more than 15 years. And so that's a really great area of opportunity, and a really great question to ask. Why do we think that that is? I am not there at your community every day. I can't offer that information to you, but this is something definitely worth investigating and seeing what opportunities there are to engage those who've been here longer with the community a little bit more. And so this is just the highest scoring factors and the lowest scoring factors. Again, everything that we're doing, we want to make so actionable. We want we want to give you tools to really make a successful community life for the residents. And so what we're seeing, the highest scoring factors is quality of housekeeping, safety, security of grounds, and quality of transportation. Those are some really great wins. But some of the areas of opportunity that we're seeing is the community fund management, the quality of dining experience, and the variety of menu selections. In my time as a senior living consultant, variety of menu and quality of dining, I think 95% of the time are within the lowest scoring factors. I think it's a really, really hard thing to change and make better for everyone, more enjoyable for everyone, but it is worth just mentioning and figuring out ways to improve that. But I don't think that this is unique to your community. I think it's really, really hard for menu and dining to be standout factors. And so one of the other analyses that we do, to become a truly engaging community, senior living organizations need to understand what foundational measures they can take to create an environment that facilitates resident engagement. So there's the difference between the satisfaction factors and the engagement factors. So the engagement factors are those that are within those domains. And so the satisfactions, however, they measure very specific services, amenities, and elements of the community, while the engagement factors measure more of those very large scale ideas. So what we then do is we correlate the satisfaction factors to some of those engagement domains to see if there's any connection between the very specific amenities that are satisfying the residents versus those bigger concepts, to see if we can improve the bigger concepts of resident engagement by improving some of those satisfaction factors. And so that's what we're presenting here. So we're only presenting, so these are called key drivers. We're only presenting the satisfaction factors that actually had statistical significance. So in other words, as these engagement domains increase or decrease, so do these very specific amenities that were questioned, and vice versa. So we're seeing a very strong correlation between these two. And so these are some of the other domains as well, compared to those, or these are some of the other factors compared to those overall domains. And so the next thing that we do, again, we want actionable insights. That is what we are hoping to provide. So we create a checklist. So any of those factors that we're seeing time and time again, we put together a little profile for you. So these are the areas of strength. So these are the things that we're seeing rated positively across the board over and over again. So that's competence of medical staff, quality of transportation, safety, security of grounds, and upkeep to buildings. So these are your wins. These are things that across the board are really solid. And then on the flip side, we also put together the areas of opportunity. So the things that we're seeing that are coming up quite often in the report. So that's those that are having the negative year-to-year comparison. Those are in the lower end of the benchmark, but those are also the key drivers of engagement. And then also those that are the lowest scoring factors. So any survey question that falls within two categories, we just put together on this checklist. All right, so now we can open up the floor.
What we did is at the September 17th meeting with the resident council, afterwards there was a time for questions and answers. So what we'll do now, before we proceed on with any here, will show you those questions and answers, and maybe that'll take care of some of your concerns as well. So go ahead, show the second.
So, good afternoon.
What exactly is community fund management?
Did you hear that, Casey?
Yes, and so let me look at what the exact question was. I'm pulling up the survey questions now.
Pulling it up, so. Is there gonna be another question after this one?
So the question was responsible management of ARC's funds. So it was satisfaction. So that was just our short alias for it is community fund management. But the exact question was, how would you rate on a scale of 1 to 5 your satisfaction of the effective management of ARC's funds or the responsible management?
I think where that comes from too, from comments, concerns over maintenance fee increases and concerns of overall financial impacts on residents as fees are increased and prices are increased. They reflect back that it's not, it reflects back into that question. There are different concerns with rate increases.
Any other questions? Are you sure? Okay, well, Casey, thank you so much for taking time to help us
Yes,
understand.
thank you. Thank you so much.
And we've enjoyed working with Hollerin. Y'all have done a great job. And I think we got a lot of good information here. And as y'all know, Steve and Tom and Steve will get the complete package, all comments, et cetera, and we're good to go.
Tell Stephanie we hope she feels better.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
Question here. Hold on. Got a question.
I don't know how you would do this, but I've forgotten what the questions were on the survey. And how do you, if we could have a survey posted somewhere or maybe in the library, I don't know, but so we could go back and look at, say, the different sections of the survey and what the responses were on the different sections of the survey. This is a good summary, but I can't remember what I said, and I can't remember what I rated exactly. And if
I was doing a good job.
okay, good, but somehow if we could be reschooled on what we were answering and how it might have fallen out according to the survey. This is a good summary, but do you see what I mean?
When we have the all hands on the 3rd of October, possibly go over, we can certainly have a copy of the survey there, and go over kind of an overview of what is presented. To get your actual survey, we don't have any way to get a hold of that. Just the survey?
We can make that happen.
Stay here for 10 minutes. I'll go up to my room and bring you one down.
No.
Library. Look, and identify before it rear church. Yeah, and it's 13 years old. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah. Then we'll put, I don't know what you were saying. Yeah.
You're getting the average of all the people. So you want to know how many people gave it 5, how many people gave it 1? Well, the average is the 4.32 or the 3.87 that you showed on the sheet. That's what you're showing there, is the average of everyone's score for each question. And that's what what Casey was saying earlier. We say, wow, gee, that looks like we're down in the lower percentage, but it's still 3.8 out of 5, which is not bad. That's pretty good. If it's 1 point, 5 for one question. Each question is rated 1 through 5 when you did your survey. You gave it a 1 through 5.
Several questions were part of one area. It's not each question, because what she showed of a overall satisfaction or whatever, that included several different questions. Okay.
So it's both, is what we're saying. It's the average for that specific question, and then in other areas, it's average for the whole section. If I understood it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Point to bear in mind is when you see these figures, and I don't know what, I guess you'll see them again forward, but just to recognize that looking through there, I didn't see any 2 point somethings. These are all in the 3s and the high 3s and whatever, which is, 3.5 out of 5 is not bad.
But there were areas that could use some assistance.
Right.
And Steve and Tom will be getting a complete copy of everything, all the questions, comments, everything. And then, of course, we will look for some information of how that's going to improve. Warren, did you have a question?
No, that was a great rundown on the survey. My only question is, now that you have a good view of what areas to sustain because you're doing well in them and what areas to focus in because you're not doing as well, you know, who is responsible for laying out the framework on the way ahead to fix? Is that a staff? Is that an RC and staff?
That's not,
Steve has already stated that he's going to come up with an action plan to address those areas where there's opportunity for improvement.
we answered that question at the last council meeting. That came up.
Okay,
And so Steve is going to come up with an action plan. And, but the council has, all our job here was to get a survey out and come up with questions and so on and hire Halloran. So, but we have no control of how it's going to be how these areas are going to be responded to. That'll be up to management.
okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Here, Georgia.
Thank you for a great presentation. In the past with resident council, I know that we received a printed copy of this survey. I'm assuming it will come out to us and to our residents after October 3rd. Are we prepared to give a printed copy to everyone? It came in PDF last time.
You're talking about what she's not.
Sure,
copies of
the graphs.
survey.
No, not the survey,
Graphs.
just the graphs.
That can be sent out to each rep in PDF form
And I assume after October 3rd.
after October 3rd. That's
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
It's a great question.
Somebody else?
Have another question here? Got a question here coming to you, ma'am.
I think my question may have been answered. If I understand clearly, what we have today is real time. But what the town, on the day of the town hall meetings, it will be a recording, correct?
That's correct. What,
Okay, here's the question I think I'm going to hear from residents. Will they have an opportunity to ask a question? And if it's a recording, then there is no opportunity, correct or incorrect?
They're going to,
go ahead, Jim.
we'll be there. The committee, the survey committee and the executive committee will be there to answer any questions.
So there will be representation, questions can be asked, and you will answer.
Right.
Yes.
Correct,
Well,
thank
The only
you.
questions we
Because
can't
I know
answer.
residents will ask that.
Yeah, the only questions we won't answer is her technical, how did you go about behind the scenes? You know,
Yes.
We don't know that.
Yes.
We only see the final data and we'll be able to answer questions regarding that.
Okay, good to know, thank you.
Good question. Thank you.
Anything else?
Good question. Yes. Hold on a second.
It's more of a statement, but I know I don't have good eyes, but I couldn't see half of the graph. If there's going to be a PDF come out later, that will help, but it really would be good to have it at the time of the presentation because I just couldn't read them. And we've got a lot of people that's got worse eyes than I.
Well, we'll send it to the glass place.
We may be able to, with the copy of, Casey sent us a copy of her slides. We could possibly put that up on a bigger screen.
You could also do a handout.
And that's what David said. We'll provide a handout with what you've seen there. We can have a handout with that stuff. Yes, what he said. Yeah.
We'll come up with something. We understand your concerns and other residents' concerns. Again, we're not trying to hide anything. We'll come up with a plan. Okay. Please.
It's on now. Anyway, the camera's.
Do we need Casey? We need Casey here anymore for questions, or we don't? She can go to lunch. Anybody else a question for her? Thank you very much.
Bye, thank you so much.
Whatever Steve said, he can say it again, I guess.
Can I say something real quick? One of the questions that was asked was about the actual survey, the blank copy of the survey. The PDF that we're going to send out to you by email is the Independent Living Resident Engagement Report, and it actually has the plain copy of the survey attached to it so you can refer to it. This report has everything that you saw today in it. It's just but it has also explanations in it. So that's what you're going to be getting by email, okay, from your representatives and alternates, okay? That's what you're going to be getting. Jim?
Yeah, and there's some talk there about having handouts here, and we'd hope to avoid making 25 times 400 colored copies to send out that may not be of great value to everybody. So we did what we did. We expanded, and I think Cindy did a fantastic job of keeping up and making the screen bigger. And her staff sitting with her that probably did a lot of the work, too. Before we go into questions, let me just do a quick bottom line analysis of what the executive committee and our survey committee thought was the bottom line of what this survey just said. It would seem to imply that survey numbers across the board are slightly lower than they were in 2019. Community fund management that she talked about was the only one that showed a more significant decline. It was like 0.45. Others were like some 0.08, insignificant numbers. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. The areas that residents perceived the need for improvement included overall food quality and consistency in service. What's this thing? The need for a better trained wait staff and a dedicated effort to control waste. Management of costs and expenses, concern over rising fees, monthly fees, and overall ARC debt. The fear of running out of money. And that fund management question, community fund management, that's pretty much where it's served, where it's centered. People are worried about running out of money, worried about these increasing costs, worrying about the waste they see, food waste, and that kind of summed up that category. Another area, administration transparency and lack of urgency in regard to responding to resident concerns. That was kind of an overarching area too. Areas that were perceived as strong and positive, housekeeping and maintenance, safety and security, living environment in general, social connections, transportation, medical. So the things that were positive is kind of the things that we're all here to share. It's good living, good social environment, we're safe, things are being maintained. It's not all bad. One interesting takeaway, I think, was that newer residents, inside of 6 months, you saw their numbers are all up in the fours. They thought everything was hunky-dory. And I don't think that's all bad. The people that are here, they've seen things in the last 6 months. They haven't lived through the people that were in 11 to 15 year or whatever that seem to have the lower rating. Well, those people were here back in the day before COVID, before the renovation, before this rampant inflation that was driving costs up and causing the monthly fees to go up. So all of a sudden, when you look back at the good old days, like we all do, yeah, it's not inconsistent that you would see that type of response, I think, and our group thinks. Somewhat significant fee increases were put in place in the last 4 years to bring our revenues more in line with expenses that were steadily increasing due to the most recently inflationary pressures. So it's a big difference from what it was 12 or 13 years ago to what it is now. But from what our perspective as a team is, the quality of life here is still really, really good. Could it be better? Of course. And that's something Steve and his folks will address and that we all address every day as we work toward it. But we got it pretty good here in general, is what I think this survey says. Having said that.
Before questions, I have one more comment. Thank you, Jim. I'd like to address one thing that came up on the survey, and you may have seen that there were a couple of comments about the resident council. One of the things that I'm going to be doing very early on is I'm going to be having a team building and brainstorming session with the resident council representatives and alternates, and that'll be on the 20th of October, and we'll just sit down and talk about things, how they're going, and the way ahead. So I just wanted everybody to know that will take place.
Okay. To the extent I can and my team can and Gloria can, what questions are there? There should be mics in each area here. So if you've got a question, please raise your hand.
My question has to do with COVID. Was there any mechanism or any attempt to see across the board, not just the ARC, but the other organizations that we were compared to, what kind of effect COVID had, and could COVID and all the struggles that resulted from COVID for our living, could COVID be taken out of some of the results to show as a common depressor of information, so perhaps get a better, more real view of our specific information?
Not to my knowledge, no. But that certainly is it's a great point. No, we didn't ask that, and that did not come up.
Well, the other element was perhaps if there was some way to factor out COVID, that would also show what kind of effect construction had, because construction was a huge disruptor on top of COVID, which was a huge disruptor. And
Yeah.
construction was specific to us,
Yeah.
not to the industry.
Yeah. Not to my knowledge, no. Any other questions?
Jim, how many were surveyed in 2019? We had 500 plus this time. Do you remember, Mike?
Mike, do you have any idea?
The exact number, but
It was more than this, a little,
It was more, maybe about 40, 50 more than this.
right, that's what I remember.
Percentage was low because of our higher population.
Okay. This is probably more of a comment, but I've done a lot of surveys with military groups, okay? 360 assessments, 20,000. It's a hard group. Military, they don't hand out fives very often, okay? So I'm wondering, what did she say about a military unique community with all these retirees? Did she say anything that made us different as far as scoring?
No, she didn't.
Okay, I just given you my observation.
No, but
we don't hand out fives.
But
Very easy.
that's a good point, and if you look at the chart she showed, that looked something like this, it talked about 5 voice connection, fulfillment, and well-being, and our lowest, we're in the 24th percentile, we were still at 3.67. That's not bad. So we have to keep that in mind. And she said that, and I think Gloria said that earlier. And what Lawson just said, yeah, military guys and men and women just don't give out fives if there's something in the back of their mind that was ever wrong. So.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to think we were unique, and if we aren't setting the curve, then we're not doing our job, right, bosses? My question is, action plan. Do we see that and the fixes that are proposed?
Do you want to talk?
Now,
Well, let Steve address that. The action plan is, remember now, the resident council is an advisory board to management.
Yeah, everybody.
It's management's job to run the place.
Yeah, okay.
No, thanks. Great question. Yes, we've received the results, and when that recording was conducted, that was the first blush that we had with the survey. So, you know, our team, leadership team's evaluating the survey and all the components. And of course, you know, we're glad that it's good to very good, most of the scores, but we would like them to be higher. I appreciate the comments regarding the uniqueness of our community, and I think the ARC is a feedback-rich environment, and we want that. So this gives us an opportunity to continue, and you saw the last survey, we came a long way with maintenance and upkeep in buildings, and so we take this seriously, and we're going to work on the improvement areas. You know, I looked at it, and there's a way to dissect roughly about 55% of all the residents were here in 2019 that took this last survey, and about 45% weren't. So we can look across resident tenures and find maybe ways to engage folks that are just out of the honeymoon period and try to raise those scores up. But, you know, I want you to know we're going to work hard, and, you know, it is a unique community. We know everybody has very high expectations, and we want to meet those. So, you know, we're going to work, the board may have some input, you know, to me as well. We're working really hard together, board, residents, and staff, and we're even looking at some of our strategic planning committees and work groups. Some of the action plans might be housed in some of those committees, which makes a lot of good sense. But you know, our team is incredible. We're working really, really hard, and it's just a tough field, very complex. We're the largest in the state of Texas, so we have more issues than most any other organization is going to deal with. They're very complex and multiplied by a huge number. But you know, we're happy you all expressed yourself, and the biggest surprise. I mean, I love the fact that well-being went way up. Voice going down is a little hard because we have residents on the board, which no other organization has. We have residents sprinkled throughout planning committees. This resident council is probably more effective and engaged than anyone I've ever seen. But that being said, we're going to continue to find ways to let you express yourself and respond. So I hope that helps. Community fund management, you know, that's a strange way to communicate that. You know, we have a finance committee, we have investment policy statements we follow, we've got good processes. In interpreting this, sounds like fees and costs and charges and fee increases, and so a big part of that is inflation, and then I hate to say it, but our eligibility guidelines were somewhat limited into how many people we can serve. So I don't want to poke the bear on that, but those are issues we're going to be looking at. What can we control and what we can't, and great opportunities. So back to y'all, we're ready for questions? Or?
The question was, will we see the fixed plan?
Oh, yes. We'll publish an action plan once we get that formulated, and we will be able to share that with the resident council and the residents.
Got it. Mike. Wait, give her the mic.
What are we going to do?
Hold on a second.
They can't hear you.
Get a mic to you, please. Not everybody's got their things.
When we come up with a plan, now that management knows what the concerns are and where the weakness is based on the survey, are we going to have another town hall with what you're going to do about bringing the lower scores up? I don't think people are going to be too happy with just getting something in the email saying, you know, this is what I think we're going to do. I think it should be an open forum. It should be here in a town hall, telling them what is the plan, what changes are going to happen to go ahead and bring those lower scores up.
Okay, you know, great suggestion, and we will be conducting a town hall once we get the action plan in place. And as usual, we put it on the portal, the library, share it with the resident council, but we can also have a town hall. We want everybody to be happy and satisfied and engaged, and we'll keep working on that front very hard.
One comment I'd add, it was kind of covered in the general discussion, but when this 2019 survey was finished, one of the lowest ranking things was maintenance. An action plan came out. I wasn't here, but I've heard results of what they did, and right now maintenance is right at the top. So hopefully the same thing will be a result of this survey. Any other questions?
My question is, how much did this survey cost us?
It cost us 64, I've got it written down here, $6,400, I think.
And on a scale from
And the board
on a s-
paid for it. The
Okay.
resident council didn't.
Well, that's our money. So 1 to 5 was, where do we rank on 1 to 5 on paying $6,400 for that survey? What would you think?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Can you rank what we paid and what we got from that survey from 1 to 5? So,
Did we get our money's worth? Did they tell us what a result of what we'd said? Did they
Yes,
summarize it?
that's
So,
a
we
question.
got our money's,
Okay.
in all honesty, that's about the same price that survey cost 6 years ago, 5 years ago. So I was surprised. I thought it was gonna be a lot more than what it came in at. Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
we're pleased, yeah.
Since the food was so low, and now we've lost our manager to be because he's going to be spread out through the state of Texas, how are you going to fix that?
Not me.
All right. Well, you all did see the resident update, and we're actually extremely proud and celebrate Akeem that he has been elevated. He's only going to be serving about 3 communities in the San Antonio market, at most about half day a week. And of course, he has assistant directors, executive chefs, supervisors, managers, a strong team behind him. You know, nobody can do it alone. So dining will continue to be very, very strong. And within that same communication, we've been designated as a corporate training site for Compass Community Living, which means we're going to be getting upcoming professionals that are going to train here for 12 weeks and then probably work another 12 weeks for free to the ARC. So we get enhanced labor and expertise, and anytime Akeem is consulting, we get credited for his time. So it's going to be a win-win situation. We're going to continue to elevate dining services. And so that's the basic answer. And Akeem has been with that organization, 19 years. He's done phenomenal things to the ARC. If you remember what it was like when we went through COVID and the big snow and everything else we've been through, they consistently deliver. I wish the scores were higher to reflect that, but we'll keep working on improving that. But hopefully that answers that one. Big Jim.
I would just remind you again what Casey said, that when they survey all of these different CCRCs, 95% had food as the lowest rated. And we had 541 people answer this survey. And remember, going through the military, the thing was, there's always 10%. Well, if 10% of this community is unhappy with food, that's 50 people every day that's not going to like it. And it's very, very difficult to please everybody. It's difficult. So that doesn't mean it can't be addressed, and it needs to be addressed, but it's difficult.
Well, we had a hall dinner, and there were 35 people in attendance, and the dining staff knew that. But when they served the dinner, they were 7 dinners short because the chef cut the meat wrong. So that meant 7 people didn't get the steak they were supposed to get. And that seems like a lack of supervision. And in addition to that, the steak was cut wrong, so everything was tough that were served. So it seems that there needs to be some help somewhere.
Was this referred back to the
and
management at the time?
Akeem yelled at the chef, and the next time we have a dinner, we'll have a charcuterie board to make up for it. So thank you very much.
Okay, so it sounds like some action, some remedial action was taken on your concerns. And that's what we're hoping to have, if there are issues, to bring them attention to management.
And there's restaurants downtown that you go to, good quality restaurants, that sometimes you don't get the best meal. Or they run out.
Another question, please.
Just a comment, because the previous question opened up what I was going to talk about. I think it's wise to remember the perception of the residents in this survey is that the most room for movement of one of these entities that is on the survey is in food service. The King's been here a long time. That might, I understand the perception there, but it might be that we look at different processes, whatever exists within food service, because that, if I'm correct, and I may not be, that's the perception of the residents, what can be improved the most, given the starting point here.
Okay. Any other questions? Back over here.
Of the individual comments that were made or written on, how are they being processed so that we understand they were made anonymously and that management will receive those questions? Will they be summarized, and will an action plan be identified and reviewed, as well as the answers to the general questions? Do you understand my question?
Not exactly.
Okay, if there was a response that was identified in the survey that was specific, it was a specific written response and recommendations or comments, would they be then tabulated and an action plan be made or addressed? And will that information be forwarded to the executive committee and on to the board? Is that clear?
Yeah. Yes, the verbatim comments are really in three different areas: engagement, what do you like best, and what do you think needs improvement. So those are being reviewed for themes and commonalities. And the verbatim comments won't be, published, but the action plan will cover the verbatim comments and the different scores based on thresholds, in the resident survey.
All right.
So, the theme, they'll be grouped into similar responses if it's, dining services or transparency, those type of things, and that will be included in the action plan.
All right. Thank you very much.
Steve, the board has a copy of this, the complete package, including comments, so they're very much aware of what comments were made.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
It went pretty well.